Hello, my name is Drew. I'm in my second semester at Virginia Western studying Information Systems Technology. And today I'm going to be showing you the first episode, the introduction to my home lab. Now, I decided to start a home lab not just to gain experience and to grow my knowledge on networking and in Linux, but it's also just a hobby for me. I got a lot of free time that I admittedly spend on not so productive things. So I figured doing this lab would be a great way to spend some time. And on top of that, I also feel that I need to work on my public speaking a little bit and explaining things to a camera. This is not really something I've ever done. So I decided to film a series where I explain what I'm doing in my home lab and I show you what I'm doing in my home lab. This isn't a tutorial. This is just simply me documenting my experience with creating a Linux server. So let's get right into it, guys. Now to run this server, I bought a cheap Dell OptiPlex 9020 on eBay. It was only $100 and it has a 128 gigabyte SSD. It has 16 gigs of RAM and it has an i5 with 4 cores. So for $100 and just for running a basic home lab, I think it's pretty good. I can upgrade the storage or the RAM if I need to down the line. Now that we've got the computer out of the way, I'm going to tell you about how I'm connecting this computer to the internet. Now, I know from my networking classes that layer 1, the physical layer, is the most important because if you don't have that figured out, your configurations aren't going to matter. Your IP isn't going to matter. You have to have the physical layer figured out first. So I bought this 100-foot Ethernet cord from Amazon and I connected it to the router downstairs. It goes up through a hole behind the fridge, up the cabinet, up the ceiling, over the walls, through the banister, using a bunch of little adhesive clips to hold them on there. I'll put some footage in here of me hanging it up, and I've got it all the way in my room now. So here it is plugged in. All right, now that I've shown you the hardware, the next step is going to be getting Proxmox, which is a virtual environment where I can run multiple virtual machines at once. We're going to be starting with just Ubuntu Server, but I want to have Proxmox. That way, if I want to add anything else down the line, I can. So I'm going to be flashing this USB drive, turning it into a boot drive with Proxmox on it using Rufus, and then I'm going to plug it into my OptiPlex. All right, here is Rufus creating that boot drive using the Proxmox ISO. I sped it up so you don't have to watch me sit here and finish this. Alright, next all I did was take the USB drive, plug it into the USB port on my OptiPlex, and hit F12 so I could get into the one-time boot menu. As you can see here, I've got the SanDisk drive right there. I went ahead and clicked on that. And here we are. Alright, now that I've got the Proxmox installer up, I'm going to choose this first option, the graphical installer, because it's the most user-friendly. The other ones are more if your graphics card isn't working right or if you're working with some older hardware. I'm going with the graphical one just because I want this to be as smooth and easy as possible. Alright, the first step in the installer is to get past this end user license agreement. Obviously, I'm going to read over every single word very carefully to make sure I agree. And yeah, it looks good, so let's go to the next step. Now it looks like I'm being prompted for disk selection, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that 128 gigabyte SSD I showed earlier in the video, and this is just going to wipe that drive completely clean and allow Proxmox to boot off of that drive. Right now it's just asking me location and time zone. That's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to pick United States and change my time zone to America, New York, because that's closest to me. Alright, now I'm going to set up a super secret password for the root profile to Proxmox and put my email address in down here. Now I get to do something a little more fun. I'm going to choose the host name for my server. I'm going with Angel Server because Angel is the name of my cat. And honestly, it was just the first thing I could come up with, so we're going to put that in here.
Aww.
Now I'm going to choose a static IP address for the server. I'm going to go with 150 because it should hopefully be out of the range of IP addresses that are already taken on my network. And as you can see here, I fixed the default gateway to match my home network, so my IP address and default gateway are on the same subnet. I'm just going to click past this. And that was it. That was the last step. Now it's installing, and we should be ready to go and launch it from the web interface as soon as this finishes. Nice. As you can see right here, it's got the IP address. All I'm going to have to do is put that in my web browser, and I should be able to manage Proxmox without actually touching the OptiPlex from here on out. Alright, now all I did was go to my web browser, type in that IP address we set up in the installer. Now I'm going to come here, and we can log into the Proxmox web interface. Now that I'm in Proxmox, I'm getting this warning that I haven't paid, but we're going to bypass that now by switching to the no subscription repository so we can get all of our updates for free. So all I did was come to this button on the left that says repositories. I clicked on that, it shows us a list of our repositories, so I'm going to choose the enterprise repository and disable it. So that's this one at the bottom right here. I just click on that, click disable. And the next thing I'm going to do is click this add button here. I'm going to get a warning that says no valid subscription. So let me just click OK. And let's see, no subscription. And then I'll just hit this add button right here. Now I think I should be good to head over to the shell so we can start running some commands. Now that I've got the repo switched to the no subscription version, I'm just going to run apt update and apt dist -upgrade. This basically tells the server to go grab every single update it was blocked from getting before we switched to the no subscription repo. And the -y I put at the end just means yes, do everything. But as you can see here, I ran into some error messages actually when I tried to run that update command. I did some off-screen research, and it looks like I still have another repository I need to disable, so let's go do that now. Looks like I forgot to disable this one Ceph squid at the top, so I just clicked disabled there. And we're going to do the same thing where I'm going to go up and click add here, and it should be on the list. Ceph squid, no subscription. I'll click add there, and now we should be good to run our command. So I'll just go back to that same button here, and I'm just going to hit the up arrow key so I don't have to type that long command again. And it looks like it's working a lot better now. I went ahead and cut most of the installation out so you guys don't have to sit here and watch that. But yeah, updated all the files. The update finished. Now you can see there it says root at Angel Server, so we are logged in as our root user. Now the next thing I'm going to do to get this project going is download Ubuntu Server from the Ubuntu website so I can actually run that ISO as a virtual machine inside Proxmox. Now that I've got that file downloading, once this finishes, we should be able to head into Proxmox and actually create the VM for that ISO to run on. So all I'm going to do is go to local Angel Server all the way over there on the left. Then I'm going to click this button that says ISO images right up here. I'm going to go into my downloads, pick that ISO file, click upload. And now that my download's finished, I'll just click that button that says Create VM up at the top right, and now we get to pick the settings for our virtual machine that Ubuntu Server is going to be running inside of. So I'm just going to click that OS tab, choose the ISO for Ubuntu Server. Next, I'll go to the System tab, and I'll check this box that says QEMU Agent. This just helps the server shut down properly so I don't break anything if I have to turn it off fast. Now I'm going to go in the CPU tab. I'm just going to go with 2 cores because that should be enough for now, and I can always upgrade it more in the future. I'm setting the CPU type to host so the VM can use the full power of the actual processor I have in the machine. Now for the RAM, I'll just go with 4 gigs. That should be more than enough. On this network tab, everything looks good, so I'm just going to go ahead and click next. And here we are. We can confirm that all of our settings look good. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click finish. Now there's this button at the top right up here that says start. I'm going to go ahead and click that so the VM starts running. And as you can see here, the CPU usage is starting to show up. It's got 50%. I'm just going to go ahead and go into the console here. Click that button that says try or install, and now we do some more waiting. And now I'm here in the installer for Ubuntu Server, so I'm just going to go ahead and click English. I'm going to click Done down here. We're going to choose Ubuntu Server. Now in this network configuration tab, I'm actually just going to click right here. I'm going to go to Edit IPv4, and I'm going to change this from automatic to manual. I'm doing this because I don't want the power to go out, and I don't want my server to get a completely new IP address because the router assigns it a new one. If I do it manually, it should hopefully keep this IP address every time the server is ran. So right here it's asking me for my subnet, so I'm just going to use the same subnet that the Proxmox ISO and my main computer and my router are already on. And in the address field, I'm going to go ahead and give this an IP address of 151 because 151 is one more than the IP I gave the Proxmox ISO, and it's pretty far out of the range of IP addresses that are probably already assigned on my network. And the default gateway is obviously just going to be the IP of my router. I went ahead and put that in under the address. And now it's asking for the DNS server, so I'm just going to put Google's DNS server in here, 8.8.8.8, and I'll also do 8.8.4.4, so if the first one doesn't work, it'll switch to the second one. And we're going to go ahead and click Save. I don't need a proxy server right now, so I'm just going to click Done to get past that. And this is just the standard Ubuntu mirror, so I'll just keep it as is. No reason to change it unless I've got like a special repo I wanted to use, so I'm just going to keep that the same. And now I'm just going to let it use the whole drive since I already created a virtual drive in Proxmox, so we can just use the whole thing. Now same thing for this screen here. I don't really need to change anything, so I'm just going to click Done, and it's going to tell me that it's going to wipe this entire drive, which is fine, obviously. So I'm just going to click Continue now. I went ahead and filled in the profile information here. Now I'm just going to type in my password so I can log in. I'm going to click Done, and we should be getting pretty close to the end here. So now we're going to install OpenSSH so I can remotely access this server. I'm not going to import any keys, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Done so we can go on to the next step. And let's see, should be good. Yeah, click Done there again. And now it's officially installing. I'm going to fast forward this in post editing so you guys don't have to sit here and watch this whole thing. Alright, now that I've finished installing Ubuntu Server on this VM, I went to open the console tab here and I got this red error, which scared me a little bit at first, but it's actually completely normal. I just need to go clear the boot media in the Proxmox settings real quick so it doesn't try to keep looping back into the installer. So all I have to do to fix this is come over to this hardware tab here on the left and click on the CD drive, come up to the top and click edit, and I'm going to choose do not use any media. That way it doesn't try to keep going into the installer. And looks like everything is going good. Yay! We got the login screen here. That means the Ubuntu server install went well. I can go and put my username in there. I'm typing my password, but you can't see it. And we're here. This is the main terminal for my new Ubuntu Server VM. Now, first things first, now that I'm in, I'm going to run the classic update and upgrade, just making sure the local package index is fresh and everything is up to date before I start actually configuring anything. It's going to be sudo apt upgrade and sudo apt upgrade -y. It's going to ask me for my password here. I'm typing it in right now. And here we go. I'm also just going to run ipaddr show real quick. I just want to verify the internal IP address that Proxmox assigned this VM so I can make sure it matches what I'm expecting before I try to SSH in from my main PC here. Now I can see my IP address right here. Everything looks good and normal. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut this down. Say goodbye to the VM for the night because I think I have more than enough for my first video. And that was the first episode of my Home Lab series. I showed you guys my PC, my wiring, I got Proxmox installed on the PC, and an Ubuntu Server VM in Proxmox with SSH enabled, so hopefully I can stick to recording on my main PC now. I know this wasn't the most exciting video ever if you're not into IT like I am, so sorry I guess, but next video I'm planning on getting Docker and Portainer, so thanks for watching. Episode 2 coming soon.